And the third layer that we need to talk through as we consider the answer to the question, what was the Lord thinking and what was the Lord feeling at this particular moment, is given to us in the second verse. The supper being ended, the devil having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him. I was struck in studying this chapter just how many times and how many verses in this chapter are taken up with the subject of Judas's betrayal of the Lord Jesus. The Lord mentions it really again and again with references that at the beginning are very vague and they get increasingly clear. And so, for example, one of the vague references is in the 11th verse, where, or the 10th verse, where he's talking to Peter and he says, "Ye are clean." But then he says at the end, "but not all." And the commentary of John the writer in the 11th verse is that the statement that Jesus makes, "You're not all clean," is a reference. It was said in the knowledge of the betrayal of Judas. And the Lord references again and again throughout this chapter. I have it written down in my notes beside me, this pending event of Judas's betrayal as something that was clearly weighing on his heart, to the point that it says in the 21st verse, when Jesus had thus said, he was troubled in spirit. So there was a disruption, there was an agitation to the Lord's Spirit at this particular time that was the result of the way in which he was aware of the betrayal of Judas that was about to happen. And I've always been struck by the way that Paul, in the 11th chapter of 1 Corinthians, sort of frames the institution of the Lord's Supper. So he has some opening comments there about they weren't come together for the better, but for the worst. But then the very first thing he says when he describes the Lord instituting the Lord's Supper is this: it was on the night that he was betrayed that Jesus took bread and broke it.